there? Imagine there was like a far left, communist, self-admitted communists, Marxists, Maoists. You know, the far left. Imagine there was a far left group. And imagine they had a few trans people in there causing problems. And then imagine if the meetings of that Maoist, Marxist, communist group became orgies where they just fucked each other. And the trans people, who once were men but now identify as women, were trying to encourage other women in the group to fuck in that orgy. And the women that refused to left the organisation. And they were called transphobic. And then imagine the remaining people in that Maoist, Marxist group, the trans people, the orgiists. Imagine then they started spending Communist Party funds on prostitutes. Well, all of that happened. Now, I'm a bit late here because the video's about 6 months old, but I didn't see anyone mention this at the time, and it is only hilarious for sure, but nothing wrong with that. So look, this is quite a long clip and it's the end of this video, but it's quite weird actually. To his credit, he blames identity politics for the damage that's been done. This communist unit, this particular sect, or whatever they call it, branch, commune, is now disbanded. The orgies, the transgender enforced sex, and the party funds on prostitutes kind of crippled it. But he blames that on identity politics. Now, while I do think identity politics is certainly destructive, and he actually puts forward an interesting argument later that the identity politics being pushed on us is being pushed on the right and the left equally. He doesn't say that, but it's insinuated. He says that the establishment pushes it to prevent radical politics. And whatever your politics are, they need to be radical in this day and age. So that whole idea of that as a crippling mechanism is quite interesting. Nonetheless, I think the blame should be put on the would-be rapists, the orgyists and the whoremongers. Which might have been a little bit more cancerous. Who knows? Maybe if we'd have had a blind study to go by, we could have told. Anyway, check him out. He's not joking. It's a legit channel. I checked all his other videos on YouTube. Interesting stuff. Go for it.
I have some very disturbing news to give about the Marxist community. Now, just a couple days ago, there was a big blow-up in the Party of Communists USA, not to be confused with the Communist Party USA. This is two different groups. Essentially, the PCUSA is now over. For all intents and purposes, the party has now fractured to a point where, frankly, it won't be possible for it to continue in any meaningful form. Now, what caused this? The same kind of thing that I've warned about. Identity politics. To put forward essentially what happened, according to the people who have left, many of whom were women, they left the organization due to much of the transgender politics that had been going on inside the party. The women complained that they were treated in a very misogynistic manner by the people, the men who identified as women. And this is one of the reasons why they left. Now, they also came with a bunch of other information that is frankly outright disturbing. One of the things that they told the public was that many of the meetings in at least one particular state, I believe it was California, the party meetings degenerated into orgies, and this was a common occurrence. Now, the party went so far, or the people involved in these orgies were pressuring other people to join them. And then when they didn't want to join, when the women didn't want to have sex with men who identified as women, they called them transphobic. Now, this is deeply disturbing as it is. Now, it actually gets even worse. Those who have left the organization, and some men left too, but there was a large portion of those who left were women, say that the party was using the funds raised from dues that people pay to funding drives that they go to, basically just the general income of the party was being spent on prostitutes for various members inside the organization. In other words, about as much as a barrel of corruption as this could possibly be. And all of this is a direct result of the identity politics within the party. Anytime this was criticized, they say that those who opposed it were accused of being transphobic.
Power to the people. Link to the full video in the description. Ooh, fancy a Marxist orgy with some trans.
Thanks for watching.
Sweet bit, sweet mama, sweet bit, sweet mama, sweet bit, sweet mama. Please.
Alright, ba 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 ba.